Hello, everybody, and welcome to Angel-Meadows. My guest tonight, is the Rambling Medium +1. So that's Eric-Glyn and Scott-Stevenson, because the mediums, Mr. Michael Rogers, late, I don't know where he is, and the geek is behind. Boys are always like, these young children just don't know how to tell time. Okay, because it's me. Oh, God. Okay. Anyway, let's get serious now. My show tonight is Eric and Scott, and if Michael shows up, I might put him in the naughty, but I might let him unlock and lock. Okay. Everybody, ta-da! Eric. Nice. Okay, don't sit there like two bumps on the log. Oh, that's true. Before I forget, I did a Facebook Live earlier, and I said I would have 3 English boys on my show, and I was mistaken, and I will put it in writing that Scott is not English. He's Scottish. He lives in England, but he's not English. He's Scottish or English. Whatever. So, is that cut it? Am I forgiven?
Nearly.
Okay. I love you.
I know.
Okay. All right. So Scott is from Scotland, living in England, and Eric is English, and he's living in England, and I'm just going to go off camera. So, all right, Scott. Some of the people here who are in the chat room do know about you, but those unfortunate few who will make it late or will listen to it in the archives or who just won't give a damn, but I don't care anyway. Can you tell them a little bit about you?
Mum was a medium, Dad was a healer. I grew up with it, but had no real interest because up in the west of Scotland it just wasn't talked about. It was something that was kept in the back rooms of shops and behind closed doors. So although I grew up with it and understood it, I just was not involved in it. Met the missus when I moved down here when I was 17 and a half. Met the missus, had 3 kids. Became involved in local spiritualist church when one of them moved back up to Scotland. Learned about healing. Became a healing group leader and then took over the church, and then we moved back down here to England. Wife's a medium, I'm a healer and extra large rather than a medium. I'm a hypnotherapist and open to all things esoteric. Apart from that, I'm just windswept and interesting.
Yes, you are. Very much so. Okay. And Eric, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
I'm Eric. Used to be fat, not quite so fat now. And I talk to people that no longer inhabit the earth plane. There you go. Oh, did you want us to be serious? I'm terribly sorry. I didn't know this was a show
just a
that
little
actually
bit.
had a script. All right, yeah.
No, there's no script. It's just a little bit.
Just a little
bit.
Hang
on. She's taking her clothes off now. Steady.
I'm having a...
Michael will be here in a minute because he's getting her clothes off, so there you go. The only things that when we get through to the latter part of the show and we come to the readings, I'd just like to express this to everybody, that if you're happy with the reading that I give you, my name is Eric-Glyn, and if you're not, it's Michael Rogers. And but it's I'm 61 years young. I enjoy myself. I enjoy life. I have a very novel guide by the name of Teddy, and he's 6'4", and he doesn't inhabit a big brown bear suit. He actually is a gentleman who used to live on the earth plane, and together we are starting to be known as Team Teddy. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but he always said he wanted to be billed first, and I can't really work without him, so I've got to give him first billing. My grandmother was a medium. My mother was a medium. I'm a medium, stroke, large, stroke, extra large. My daughter is a much better medium than me, but she's taking a spiritual break and has done for the last 22 years. My grandson is now a medium who tells me that it's absolutely wonderful way of getting to meet girls. And
does his girlfriend know?
Yeah, his girlfriend does know. That's how they met. And then now I've got a granddaughter who was 9 who started saying, "Why have you got this big tall gentleman walking around behind you?" So obviously she's coming along. And my great granddaughter is now lying in the cot and giggling to people that are there. Ta-da! That's my life. The only other thing is, of course, with all the family being that way, come Christmas time when everybody sits around by the table, nobody talks and everybody laughs.
So long as there's a bunch of Looney Tunes, adorable Looney Tunes, English Looney Tunes. I like Looney Tunes. I think you're all on my show. We all fit together. Okay.
I heard it, Scott. Scott, I heard it.
I know.
I heard it.
She just can't help herself, really.
No, I said that Eric was Looney Tunes. English. I said Eric was an English Looney Tune. I didn't say you were. I said Eric was.
That's dear.
Okay.
Yeah, when you go back to the archives, you will realise that you did not say that.
I know.
Sorry, I'm old. I forget shit. Oh, gosh. Okay. Now, Scott, you mostly, for the amount of time that I've known you, you've always been a hypnotherapist. Yeah. But you also do readings, but you don't bill yourself as a medium, or you do. You have. Good.
If you don't, we're in deep doo-doo.
I have done it. It's something it took me a while. I first thought I was a healer, and that was nothing. Helen's a medium. She's always been a really good medium and also a really good healer. I never really thought I was a medium, but I did get bits when I was working on folk. It seems an awful lot of mediums become mediums after starting off in healing, because it's an easy way to focus with the person that you're working with and to focus with spirit and all that sort of stuff. I didn't trust myself or want to claim something that, how dare I call myself a medium? How dare I say I can give readings? Until I just started saying, well, okay, I'm going to give it. And even the most ridiculous things, I think one of the ones that really jumps out at me was I gave a person a message, and all I was seeing was a broken yellow jug on a windowsill. It made no sense, and I thought, you just can't say that to somebody, because you look as if you're silly or something. But for once I did. I told her, and it was what she'd been looking for. It was a piece of proof that she was looking for. So since then, if I've got something, I've given it. I'm trying to learn how to deal with the no's, and I don't understand that, and that's not me, and it's just that's the hard bit. But I'm getting there. I'm accepting it now. So I'm reasonably happy to call myself a medium-ish person now.
Medium-ish person. Okay, so Eric, how do you deal with no's? And I can't take that.
Well, when I was growing up, as most of the people in the chat room will probably know by now, I was taught by my grandmother. And I was like 7 years of age. So when you're teaching a 7 years of age person, you can't go around doing long words, big words, or fancy ideas. You really just have to stick to the basics. And that's how I was taught. When it came to the category of saying, but what, Grandma, what happens if somebody says no? And she said, well, that's when a medium becomes a medium. Because everybody can give you yeses. But it's the time when a medium earns their corn. Because too many mediums now, in my opinion, when you listen to them on the platform or you listen to them in the church or whatever, they'll go, oh, well, just take it home. If you take it home, it'll come to you. Well, that to me is the very last resort. You really need to go back and ask your guides for more and more intuition. But the one thing she did tell me, and it's stuck with me throughout all of my life, she said every no is just a step towards the next yes. And that was it. You can't really do anything else because if you have somebody that's constantly going no, 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 you know, it's mind numbing and it's annoying, and you know spirit's telling you they're giving you the right goods. And unless you've got a guy like Teddy who sorted somebody out for me that did that, and then you know, you just got to keep plodding on. There was a gentleman in a church in the village that I live in, so it's about a mile away from me. And during the time that he'd been to this church, which was about a year, he'd never taken anything that a medium could give him. Never. And I used to start talking to him and, no, I don't know. Nah, can't take that. No, too much. So I was there one night and I was doing the service, and his father came forward and said, tell him this, tell him that, tell him, and the guy's going, no, no. And the father was getting more and more annoyed. And he's saying, he does this all the time. I try to give him a message, and there's no way of getting his attention. Mm-hmm. And I heard Teddy say, I'll get his attention. And I started to cringe. And then the next thing you heard was an almighty slap. And the guy just went, oh, oh. And you could see this handprint on the side of his face. Mm-hmm. He jumped up, he ran to the back of the church, he looked in the mirror, and he's giving off quite a few profanities at the time. And have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And he turned around, and everybody in the congregation went, no, there's nothing there. And it disappeared. And ever since then, guess what? He now takes his messages.
Innocent. And
that was courtesy of Teddy. And I'm going, Teddy, you really can't do that. You really can't do that. And it was too late. Teddy was gone. It's just so, yeah. That's how I deal with those. Get Teddy to slap him up the side of the head.
I'm not sure if that would be fun to have a guide as rambunctious as Teddy. But I think he does make sure that people do pay attention when there's important messages that need to be told. Scott, do you have any guides that you know of?
I know that I've had various guides because I've been told about it by other people, mainly Helen, but I don't have a one-to-one relationship with guides. I know that they're there and I ask for their help, and I know, like Eric, I've got a choir of folk that help me. I've got various teachers for different things, various ones that specialise in different aspects of whatever it is that I'm doing. But an actual friendship or relationship with a guide, no. But I do have one name, and only recently it's been reignited, and I'm starting to look into that one. But no, not really.
So look into it, and how do you mean by look into it?
To start having conversations and listening to the answers rather than thinking it's me having my own answers. An awful lot of mediums and folk who are starting out, we all seem to think, heck, that's just in my own head. If I ask something and I get an answer, well, I'm not completely thick. You know, it's not within my capability of understanding that it could just be me. It's answering my own question. Mm-hmm. I don't yet have that trust.
Oh, well, a very smart man once told me that tell your guides and spirit that when they want to talk to you, to speak to you, and to use a different voice. Whereas you would be a man speaking to yourself, you'd hear your own voice saying it. So you ask them to use a woman's voice, preferably mine. You run screaming from the room. But you ask them to use a woman's voice, so this way you can tell the difference between your own mind talking to you and
but
your
that's
mind
also
to you.
It's also going to allow somebody to get in my head, or to admit that somebody's in my head within my shields and barriers, and that's something I have to look to start clearing up myself. To have somebody like a guide who's inside inside this, on this side rather than on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I'm ready for that one yet.
Yeah, well, there you go. Because I know the gentleman that told Darlene that, and it was in response to numerous requests from people. How do I know that I'm not just me, not just thinking of it? And that was the response that was given. That if you ask your guide to speak in the opposite sex as his voice, then you will understand that it's spirit. But this only happens for a short time, until such times as you can divorce yourself from your voice and spirit. And then eventually you start to hear accents and things like that come through. But it's just an easy fix for people who, didn't want to sort of begin. I do have a question for Scott.
Shoot.
Okay, where can I buy that voice? No, that's not the question.
It's an AM.
Yeah, no.
Ultimately,
The question is this: you are a past life regressionist, is that right?
I've done that as part of being a clinical therapist.
Yeah. Okay, that's yeah. Teddy told me a different way of doing the same thing, and I've done quite a few for family and friends type people, and they always seem to come out quite well. And it doesn't actually involve meditation or hypnosis or anything like that.
It doesn't have to. There's a bit of a. It's like everything else. There are people who have different ways of doing things. Hypnotherapy or hypnosis is one way of accessing those past lives, if that's what you want to do. But all hypnosis is an inward focusing of attention. So if you're sitting with somebody, they're sitting listening to your voice. Just like just now, everybody in the room is really just focusing on us. They're not listening to the telly in the background. They're not listening to stuff that's happening. They're focusing their attention on what's been said. That's hypnosis. So if you're sitting with your relative, then they're very lightly hypnotized. They're very lightly in a trance state, so that it's easy to access that sort of memory, that sort of thing. Plus, they have the intent that that's what they'd like to do. So it can be done that way. It's fine.
Right. Now, that's your version. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to lay my version on you, and you can tell me if it's a heap of C-rap. Okay?
But that's not important. Whatever version works for you is the version it should be. Yeah. How I do it and how I explain it, it's my words, my tools. But if it works for you doing it by jumping up and down with your pink pajamas on, then that's how it works.
Oh, you've busted my balloon now. No. What it is that quite a while ago I was informed by a previous guide of what I call a 60-40 split, whereby when you are in the higher side of life, you are 100% pure spirit. When you come back to have an earthly existence, an earthly experience, you send down 60% of your spirit. But you retain 40% in the higher side of life. So when, for example, a medium wants to access your dead granddad's thoughts and memories, the 40% is still up there and they're accessible. And the other 60% may be down here having another earthly experience, but the 40% still in the higher side of life. Now, Teddy told me, because we were sitting listening to somebody do a past life regression, and he said, well, why don't they do it the easy way? And I was like, well, don't be silly, you've got to be trained and you've got to do that. And he went, no, why don't they do it the easy way? Why don't you get me, i.e. Teddy, to access the person you're sitting, their 40% that's still left in the higher side of life? But because it's accessing spirit, they will only give back positive pointers to the life. And the way they explained it to me, that you can maybe shut down or tell us I'm an idiot, whatever. But the thing is, they explained it to me by saying that there is no such thing as a past life regression. There is no past life. Life is linear. Life continues through the higher side of life, back to this side of life, back to the higher side of life. Therefore, there's no past life. It's a previous earthly experience. Now, the thing is that what they do when I sort of try and do it is that they have, how can I put this the easy way? They will give back things to the person I'm sitting from their previous lives that may explain problems they're having in the previous life or previous existence they've got now. I'm going to get wrong of them for the corner. And it's the previous existence. Now, for example, I was doing a reading for somebody and I said to her, you were killed in the First World War. And you were killed, and you weren't shot or gassed or anything else. You were killed because the trench collapsed. And you were actually buried under the trench. And this person went, oh my God, that explains my fear of going into buildings and elevators and claustrophobia and things like that. And I said, yeah, it does. And it's things like that. It's a positive. So now that person knows why that happened, they can start to go about fixing it in their head, probably with somebody like yourself. But the thing is, though, that it's all to do with they give positive pointers to help the earthly experience that the spirit is having now. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. But then you've also said that time's linear. What if time isn't linear? What if time is like a plate of pancakes?
Yeah, and it's shelved. Yeah, I can understand that as well, but that was the explanation that was given to me by Spirit, by Teddy. So
one of the descriptions, I've done lots, or me and the missus have done lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of reading of different stuff. There is so much information out there in books, and half of it's full of, in my other book I said, in my other thing I did, all ego-driven garbage. But even in those, there's little nuggets of stuff. But we've done such a lot of reading, and one of the things that I read, I can't remember the name of the flower, but something like a geranium, I think, was got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of little petals. And in the centre there's a big round bit, or like a sunflower. In the centre there's a big round bit. The big round bit is the 40%. The 60% is made up of all these little petals, and all these little petals are having all these different lives, and it's all part of the one plant. So all the things that we're getting is all experiences, and all these other lives. If there's a problem that the person needs to resolve, and maybe going for a past life reading or a regression, is just like you said, they're accessing the main memory or the Akashic records or whatever they're called, and getting the information that they need to progress from where they are at that particular time.
Yeah, I agree entirely with what you're saying. The only thing that we're pointing out was the fact that when I've seen people do a past life regression, and the person that they are reading is in a state of hypnosis, like deep meditation, whatever you want to call it, the answers are written down or recorded and then played back to the person that was the sitting. And or they've got witnesses there to prove what they said or things like that. The only thing with doing it the way Teddy told me that I've found is that the person actually can comment in real time on what you're saying. So the thing is that sometimes when it's given back to them via a recorded message or whatever way people do it, they'll go, it's very black and white. But the thing is, though, that if they're interactive and they can ask for more in-depth about that experience because it's triggering something in the now, then I thought that was quite an interesting way of doing it.
The way that I do it, I don't know how other therapists do it, but the way I do it is to take the person through a door into the particular life that they're going to look at that particular day. Whilst they're in that life, I get them to go backwards and forwards in that timeline, in that lifetime, looking for significant events. They get to look at the significant events. There's also a part of them that's still listening to my voice. They're fully aware of what's going on. And the ones where their voice has changed and their face has changed and they've fully immersed themselves in the memory or the past life regression. With all of them, at the very end, I get them to step out of their body, out of that lifetime, and watch just before the moment of death where they are, and then to do a life review. What did you learn from that particular lifetime? What was the point of you having that particular past life regression? So they're bringing that back with them, back to normal waking state once done a few more things with them. But for a past life regression, they are actually interactive. Because quite often, if they come to a sticky bit, because I'm watching them all the time, with their eyes moving or they get a bit distressed, I get them to back out of the picture, press pause, and then have a look at what's going on, how to apply it to their life, and then go back in again if they want to. So it is interactive how I do it, but I can't answer for every other therapist.
Yeah, it was
very quiet when I stop.
No, it was just me unmuting myself. It's very. It was one of them situations. I mean, I've never ever done it, and it was about a year ago that Teddy just went, "Well, why don't you do this?" And I went, "Oh my God," and I just found it too easy. And I'm a great fan of the fact if it's too easy, it's probably wrong. And but it just gets that way.
I'm a bit of a cynic myself. Like you, I'm a cynic. So when I see somebody who says I'm a past life regression reader, I'm a past life reader, I'll give you a reading on your past life. Well, looking at Darlene, I think we said this before when we had this discussion. She's red-haired. She's got a thing about butterflies. She's got some sort of Celtic background. She's probably in her last life was a witch, or was a Wiccan, or was a wise lady. So you could say all those things to somebody, and it's just like a cold reading. You could say anything, or she's Queen Nefertiti from bloody Egypt or something, and there's no way to prove it.
Yeah.
With hypnosis and getting into a really nice deep level of hypnosis, you feel it, you become immersed in it. And as long as the therapist isn't feeding you lines and giving you false memories, you can feel it yourself. Well, I have a problem with the fluffy types and the big earrings and the gypsy costume and the fruit bowl on their head. And if they're saying, in your past life you were an Indian, or you were an Egyptian, or you were in the First World War, okay. I need more.
Yeah. Well, how about this? This is a bit of a good one. Not long after I found out all the information about Teddy, my wife who isn't a medium, but she's quite empathetic, and she came into the room and she said to me, "Eric, can you do us a favour?" And I said, "What's that?" She says, "Can you Google something for me?" Well, my wife is a techno nerd. You know what I mean? She's just technophobe. She just doesn't want anything to do with it. It took me like 20 years to get her on Facebook. Now she's a professional Facebook stalker, but that's a different matter. At the time she wasn't. She came along and she said, "Eric, can you do me a favour?" And I said, "What's that?" She says, "I have a name and I have a date for you." And she gave me the name of William Tyler. She gave me the date of 1864. And she said, "And all as I can smell is an acrid smell like gunpowder, like the 4th of July. And I went, "All right, no problem." Thinking, "Oh my God, what am I going to do with this? This is going to be like the biggest problem in the world." But I didn't want to tell her that because she wanted the answers. And I went on Google, I put the name in, and I put the date in, and his picture came straight up. And it's one of the few pictures of Confederate soldiers. And the whole bio was there, and he was killed outside a church. And he was killed on the 12th of July, 1864. And he'd only been in the Confederate Army for about 8 weeks or something. And she got the whole damn thing. And I was like, I could understand one, I could understand two, but to get all three And when I said to her, oh, he was killed outside of a church, she'll have gone, oh, that was the ringing I could hear, but I didn't know what it was. So now, every time I say something, she says, well, do you want me to give the reading? Because I'm a better medium than you.
Yay, Kath. Sorry.
Oh, you should do. You should investigate it more. Pair of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got pictures of him, we've got where he was killed, we've got the whole thing. It was all on this American Civil War site that I went on. And I just typed in William Tyler, and bang, up it came, the whole works. I thought, oh, I'm never going to live this down. And I haven't. But, yeah. So,
do I get to talk now?
Go on then.
I'm just sitting here being myself, just chilling. Okay, so William Tyler. So Kath is a medium-ish because she doesn't use it, and it just sort of happened. And Helen is a medium, and you guys are medium and healer.
XXL.
I consider you, everybody in a sense, to be healers, because in giving the messages, in doing the hypnosis, in doing whatever everybody does, you're still sort of giving some form of healing to the person's heart, soul, whatever the case may be at the time.
Absolutely. There are some mediums you see on these television programs. I can't remember his name. Colin Fry. When he does his programs, which are repeated until he's dead now, but when he did his programs, he'd start with somebody in the audience, and you'd just see their face saying, oh, I don't think it's me, or it's me. And then they'd just collapse into themselves with this information and the proof that he was giving them. And then they'd be absolutely glowing after he'd finished. Once at the end of the reading, at the end of the program, when it was reviewed or whatever, they'd be absolutely, beaming and full of energy and full of tears and love and laughter. But it's healing, it's major healing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying nothing because I didn't like the man.
Because what?
I didn't like him.
You didn't like who? Well,
No, Colin Fry.
Colin Fry.
Yeah, I knew Colin, and bless him, he's on the higher side of life now, and I wish him all the best in his healing, and I hope he gets sorted very quickly. But it really wasn't a case of him being extraordinary. It was a case of very clever editing by the show, because at the end of the day, he was what I would call a jobbing medium, and he happened to be in the right time, right place at the right time, when Living TV wanted a English John Edwards, and that's how he got catapulted. And bless him, in the end, that's what killed him, because he couldn't handle the pressure of being this major celebrity. And but he was a very good medium. He was quite decent when he first started, but he got talked into being a diva.
Yeah.
I could be a diva.
In general, well, you are. I mean, could be.
Thank you.
You are. But in general, any of the healing, any mediumship thing anybody does can give some awesome healing to folk.
But surely then again, Scott, we get to the same thing of, everybody can be a healer, everybody can be a medium. But I can play the piano, I can do chopsticks, but I can't do the piano recital.
Yeah. We can all play football. We can kick our football. But only some of us go on to learn how to play it as a hobby, and then other folks do it the weekend on a Sunday in a five-a-side. Other folk go on to play with the local team. Other folk go on to play for the county. And then there are very, very few special ones like Pelly and all these other big stars who are just remarkably gifted because they've worked at it and they've got a lot more space to carry light and do their job. But we can
Yeah,
all
it's
do
funny.
it.
Funny you should say football, you see, because I come from the town which raised Bobby and Jackie Charles.
Oh, dear.
I used to carry their mother Sissy around in the taxi all the time because she was there. So that's my little bit claim to fame. And Jackie Milburn, of course, as well, because he came from our place as well.
Way before my time.
Yeah, it was way before my time, me, and I'm just a baby. Also people may notice in the show when they're looking at me on camera, I used to be conceited, but now I'm just perfect. But you can speak now, darling.
Thank you. I just sit here and wait for you guys.
It's a new experience for her to be on here and not speaking, really.
It's a new experience for her to not be speaking, isn't it?
That's why I do my Facebook Lives, because nobody can interrupt me. Okay, so do you believe, this is going to go for both of you again, that somebody who has the ability or the gift, whichever the case may be, do you believe that people are born with the abilities, but those who, okay, we're going to use me as an example. I would love to do what you guys do. I would love to do what Eric does, and I'd love to hear them and see spirit and be able to, like Scott, you saw people here today, and it's like, okay, fine, but I can't. Now I know that it's going to take me to sit my arse down and do the meditation and do the work. If somebody is willing to sit down and do the meditation and do the study and do whatever is necessary, do you believe that everybody can get to that level? And
yeah.
if not, if you see somebody who you sit there and say, Darlene, you're perfect the way you are, but you're never going to be an Eric with a teddy. I'll be an Eric with a teddy.
It's just, I think it's a case of you have to do the work. Me and Helen sat in circles, home circles, church circles. We meditated night after night. We did all sorts of hours. I'm sure Eric and everyone else has done the same. The more work that you put at it, like the footballer, the more hours you spend training, the more ability you have, or more access of your ability you have, the more the muscles are trained, the more you learn how you're supposed to work. You said that I've seen people. I haven't seen them, spirit, anytime. How I see them as sentient. I know that there's somebody there. I like if you walk into a bedroom at night time, it's absolutely pitch black. You know where the bed is, you know where the chest of drawers are, you know where the wardrobe is. You can't see them, but you know that they're there. And when you start knowing where things are, your mind fills in the blanks and makes the picture. And the more you start to trust it, the more you start to use it, the better you can, inverted commas, see what it is that you're sensing. So that's how I learned to do it. Eric probably sees it completely different. You'll see it the way that you're supposed to see it, but to get to that point where you see things the way you're supposed to see things, you have to put the work in. You have to meditate, my dear.
Okay. But you said one of the things that you and Helen did was that you guys worked in the circles and you went to the churches and you went to the services. And I know Eric, when he was growing up, he went to the services. He had his grandmother who was the greatest teacher.
Screaming, yes.
He dragged him kicking and screaming. If I remember correctly, when Michael show once before, he said that he was in his well, I'm going to call it a car seat, on the in the church on the stage when his grandmother was doing the readings, So I didn't have that. There's a lot of people out there who don't have that ability. I don't have spiritual churches. I don't have those, groups of people.
That's okay. So, that was what we needed to get into it. Because it wasn't until Helen met somebody at a bus stop when she was when moved up to Scotland. A chance conversation, which wasn't a coincidence, but a chance conversation led to her getting a lift from somebody that lived round the corner who was going to the spiritualist church that Tuesday. That's how it started for us. That's how Spirit organised things, moved things, so that we had that opportunity. You're in a situation where you don't have access to the churches. That's okay, because that's probably not what you need. And if you're stuck amongst a lot of egotistical, straight-laced little people who think that because they've been doing it for 40 years, that means that they've got the biggest gift possible, you'd probably end up hitting somebody or biting somebody. It's not what you need. So therefore, maybe just sitting meditating in your own wee space is what you need. You'll find what you need by just going for it. You don't need all the palaver and the churches and all the other stuff. That's what we had in our way to get there.
Eric?
I was just reading what Fellini put in the chat room, because I was trying to give you a chance to do your hostess thing. The thing is that, yes, I agree entirely with what Scott's saying. You don't need all the palaver and you don't need everything else. The story you're referring to with Michael is the fact that his grandmother went to pick him up as a baby from the hospital, and on the way home from the maternity ward at the hospital, she said, but unfortunately I've got to do a service. So she took Michael and his mother to the service in the church. Michael was about a day old, maybe 2 days old, and she plonked him in the car seat on the side of the platform and said, there we are, you've been working with spirit ever since you were a day old. So that was Michael's thing. But on the other hand, he still used to throw books at his head if he asked a question, which I think is a great idea. One book she didn't throw, by the way, was How to Tell the Time. And
how to stay awake.
Yeah, how to stay awake. That was it. I mean, come on, he's got 5 kids. I mean, you know, and he's still young. And he's still young. I mean, how do you do that? As Scott said, for him, the meditation and the churches and the circles and that were the building blocks, were the way forward. With me, it was more like homeschooling, because nobody shut up about it in our house. It was talked about incessantly. And that way, if I asked a question, if Gran didn't answer it, if Grandma didn't answer it, Mum did. And usually it was, if Mum answered, it was ask Grandma. But, it was an answer. And the thing is, it wasn't turned away. It wasn't frowned upon. The very first lesson I was ever taught was how to close down, because she didn't want us to be the daft kid who talked to dead people at school. So, and bless her was, because when we eventually found out what I used to do at weekends, I got lots of words that began with Looney Tunes. But it was all just to do with the fact that you have to put the work in. You have to put the exercise in. You can't learn to play the piano by sitting at home without a keyboard. You can't learn to play a guitar by using an air guitar. You just can't do it. And it's the same with mediumship. You have to start from the beginning, work, train, and then as you progress through, Spirit will then give you more and more gifts. And as Fellini says in the chat room, you can sit around and you can dream about it, and you can do it by exercising your senses. And then at one point, you'll suddenly start to trust and actually give a message. And that's exactly what it is. The difference between a medium who sits in the open circle and the medium who stands on a platform is 5 letters: it's trust. Because once you get to the situation where you completely trust Spirit and you completely trust in Spirit's answers, you will then be able to have the confidence to stand up in front of people and say, I am a medium. I am here to give messages. And believe you me, that first step is a biggie, as Scott was alluding to before. But the thing is, though, that because you have to have the confidence to say, I'm better than you at doing this. And believe it or not, as British people, we don't have that ability to stand up and go, yeah, I'm better than you. We just want to be a part of the pack. But you just, how do you know you have a gift? There's a woman that's going to get slapped.
Don't slap on Michelle.
There's Michelle. She's going to get a good slap. Michelle, it's not a gift. Please stop calling it a gift. As Michael would say if he was here, when God Almighty above looked down looking for mediums, do you think he took somebody of my shape, looking like this, and go, yep, he's the guy for me? No, it's not a gift. It's something that started off as an ability, and it has been worked on, honed. You had to put work into doing it. It's like somebody who learns to play a guitar. If he wants to be a rock star, he has to work and put the time in to get that to the stage where he can do that. And I'm sorry, but that's the one word that really upsets me is gift, because God Almighty, it's anything but a gift.
But you also, it's also a case of what, sorry, darling, it's a case of what draws you. For me, it was healing. Healing drew me. That was my first interest with Helen, the wife. It was more the mediumship that seemed to draw her, but she did a lot of healing as well. It's what draws you. You'll find it yourself. You'll find that suddenly you're at somewhere out of the blue and you see a stall that's advertising Reiki or crystals or colour therapy or gong therapy or jumping up and down therapy, but you'll find that you're attracted to it. And when you become attracted to it, you can look into it more, and if it rings your bell, well, maybe counselling's your thing then. That's a healing art. That's a gift. That's healing. It's just whatever draws you. You'll find that things happen. One of the things that I've read and believe is we have to ask. Angels or higher selves or whatever you believe is bigger than us, they're there to help us, but they can't help us unless we first of all ask, because we've got free will. So if you say, well, I want to work for Spirit, I'm not quite sure what I want to do, present me with some ideas. I don't know if that's a psychic thing though, is it? She's a very nice lady.
She's one of my babies.
Yeah, the thing is though that as you say, it's you can't work for Spirit unless you ask. Teddy hates the fact we've got free will. It really does. It says to me, it's that pesky free will's coming in again. You know, we put all the building blocks in place for you to have this wonderful life, and then you go and screw it up. We've got to start again. But yeah, it's one of them, you know, it's one of them situations that unless you ask Spirit, you ain't going to get anywhere. But then the other side of the coin, the other side of the coin is, if you ask Spirit, you have to be willing to listen. Because there's so many people out there that go, oh, well, ask Spirit for this and ask Spirit for that. And they didn't. I've asked Spirit for the 6 lottery numbers for the last 30 years. I ain't got them. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, though, that I've got other things from Spirit. And it's, I mean, there was a medium in a church I was at last weekend. And he said, you know, I've worked as a medium for nearly 30 years now, and I've asked for street names, you know, names, dates of birth, and telephone numbers, street names, and house numbers. He says, I haven't gotten them. But he says, does that mean to say that I'm not a medium? No, he says, it just means to say that that's not the way they want me to work. You know, so no wrong way in connecting with Spirit, just different ways of getting it right.
And don't worry, Misha, they know that you're not making light of it. She has a hard time explaining where she is, and she doesn't understand it. But
one of the things I noticed about myself, is when I've, in the past, met somebody like Eric or another medium or a healer, and I've always thought, well, one day I want to be as good as them. You put other folk on pedestals, they're better than you. Well, now I don't think I want to be as good as Eric. I want to be a damn sight better than Eric. I want to be a damn sight better than other healers, because I want to do lots and lots of stuff. And I don't have any limits to how good I can be. I want to be the best that I can possibly be. And it's very hard to get to that point in your head, because you sort of have a bit of a hero worship. I don't think I'm quite good enough. Why would I be drawn to being a medium or a healer, or I've got some sort of special gift? How dare I think these things? You dare it because you want to help folk. Just go for it.
How's that, Misha?
Yeah, I mean, Michelle, I don't think that you're making light of it at all. I don't mind any kind of questions. I really don't. And it's just the way that I respond to it. I'm not really annoyed or anything like that. Don't worry about it. But the thing is, though, that it's when I was growing up, when I was young and growing through my 30s and 40s, and I was growing up, and I wanted to be the best medium in the world. Basically, I want to knock John Edwards off his pedestal. You know what I mean? I just wanted to be great. But the thing is, though, that now that I'm an old man and I'm, past my prime, the greatest pleasure in working with spirit for me is to take a young medium on the platform for the first time and give them the chance to stand in front of the audience. I spend quite a lot of time looking around at different churches, at different open circles, things like this. And if I find somebody who is really good but is struggling, then I'll offer them the chance to come along to wherever I'm working next and say, come and stand up on the platform with me. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. And then usually they come along, stand on the platform, and I can sit down and they just take the service. Because basically, and that to me is the biggest gift I have now. I'm not a teacher. For God's sake, no. I have never, ever, ever in my life would consider myself to be a teacher. Because when you're a teacher, you have to know the answers. And I ain't got a clue what I'm doing. So I don't know the answers. But I hope that during my life to be a good motivator and to get people onto that platform. Because, sometimes, you might do 100 people and 98 of them will bomb. But suddenly there's another 2 there that's going to carry on Spirit's work. And that to me is worth its weight in gold.
In the chat room, Michelle writes, I seem to be drawn to people, as I have said. It's a case of just feeling the need to talk to someone out of the blue. And when I do randomly text or call, they often tell me that they were thinking of me and they needed to talk to someone.
That's empathy. That's healing.
Sorry, Michelle, I thought you meant you were just talking to random strangers at the bus stop. I was going to say they're going to take you away, I'm sorry. But, yeah, I could just see you sitting there, but just see you sitting there with a phone randomly pressing numbers on your phone, see who answers at the other end. But that would just be misreading it.
One of the things you'll have to watch with that one though, Michelle, is because you're so open, you're going to end up being quite drained and quite ill and quite down and stuff. You need to find somewhere, find a teacher, find a good book, speak to people, but find ways of grounding yourself, and protecting yourself's the wrong word, but grounding and controlling your own environment, because when people are desperately needing help and you get that message in your head to phone them, then you're going to give them a lot of energy and you'll continue to give them a lot of energy. It's their problem to deal with. You can help and you can assist, you can support, but it's theirs to deal with, and you have to find a way to disconnect, otherwise you'll end up just draining all your own energy. And you need that to do the things you need to do in life. But that sounds like empathy and counselling and all that sort of stuff. So look into that, look for courses.
She's a Mama D in the making.
Yeah.
She's a Mama M.
A Mama M, there you go. Yeah. And then when you said that, where is it? Oddly enough, in Ireland, it's quite common. Yes, it is, because the Irish still have the ability to talk. They're like Geordies, they're just like exiled Geordies, because basically, we talk to everybody anywhere. It doesn't matter where we are, we're constantly talking to whoever it is. And I can understand what you're saying, no trouble at all. And, but I must admit that I do love the Irish. It's, they're ranked number 1 for doing that. Next to Glaswegians, because Glaswegians will tell you all about the atomic bomb they've got in the shoebox sitting on the chair beside you. So it's,
okay, what's a Glaswegian?
Somebody who comes from
Glasgow.
Glasgow, my dear.
Okay, it was the region. I
where
thought so, but it
come
was the
from.
region. I was like, oh. All right.
Did you think it was a Norwegian board or something?
I didn't know it was true. Remember, Canadian here. Okay, Feline, over
That's
here.
not your fault. It's not your fault, darling.
Not your fault at all. But yes, I must admit that I love what I do. I love working with spirit. I love actually being on the platform, and not so much in churches now, I must admit. I think I've done my stint, but I like working with spirit. So I'm not going to back out from it, but I just think it's changing. And
changing how?
You're going to get me onto my little. I know what you're doing. All right.
Get you on your soapbox.
Yes, okay. Scott might like this one. Scott might like this one. And yes, Michelle, I no problem at all. I had an experience about 4 months ago. Where are we now? October, November. Mm-hmm. We're in October, October, middle of the summer. I had an experience whereby I was sitting in the sitting room and all of a sudden I was hit by spirit. Totally body slammed. It was just as if my brain was trying to download all this information coming from spirit at one go. My wife was on the other side of the room and she was going, "What the heck's the matter?" She says, "You just went white and then you just started shaking." And then she thought I was having a fit. And I was desperately trying to get Teddy, my gran, my mum, any of my other guys to stop this that was going in my head. And it went on for about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. And then it stopped. And then I heard a voice. And it was the most wonderful, the only way I can describe it is an angelic voice. And it was telling me that I had received my new gift, as they put it. And I was like, don't use gift. And she said, well, okay, your new ability. And I went, right, so what's this ability? And she said, it's the gift of distant healing. And I went, well, I'm not really bothered about curing Darlene's headache. not really bothered about fixing somebody's hangnail or not even a backside. You know what I mean? I'm not bothered. And then this voice came back and said to me, it's actually the gift of giving people peace and serenity for the passing to the higher side of life. And I was like, what? No. And it was yes. And then I asked for the name, and the name that was given to me was Serenity. And afterwards, when she disappeared, Teddy said to me, that actually was Serenity. She's an angel. And it's the most angelic experience I've ever had. So then I went on and I thought, well, how can I verify what was being said? And one man in the chat room, Brian, I managed to get him on Skype, and he sat and talked to me for hours, as he does. And sometimes it made sense. And the thing is that that I had to have a go, mate, sorry. But it was he said something. Then I had Demisi, who is a healer here in the UK, on. And then I had Bonnie Albert on from the States. And they all said exactly the same. And I was told that if I actually feel when it comes on, that I feel like I can shoot healing out my fingers. Not like this way where you would heal somebody on a bed. It's that way, shooting stuff out with my fingers, And they said, we're going to give you a vortex. And what you do is you ask spirit to give this healing to wherever you want it to go, but you send it into the vortex. And I thought that was pretty smart, like, you know what I mean? Because, hey, all I do is hear voices in my head and say, Teddy running around in stupid outfits. But it was I thought that was quite cool. And then they said it's to help people pass to the other side of life. And I'm just like, I'm still trying to get my head around it. I haven't really used it because I don't want to think, oh well, I'm going to talk to them because basically they're going to die. You know, so even although that I know they're going to a better side of life, but you know, this is just how I think. So that was my little bit. So what do you think, Scott? Do you think actually absent healing works?
Absolutely. I've spoken to my uncle in Australia when he was here, well, still alive, and told him that at 7 o'clock or whatever it was, 7 o'clock at his time, me and Helen would sit and give him healing, and he actually felt us in the room with him. He had his eyes closed, he was sitting in his chair in his living room, and he felt as if we were right there in the room with him. So yeah, I totally believe in distant healing and absent healing and all these other things.
Yeah, the one thing I did, I tried to do, because I was told during all of this download that it was to do with like natural disasters and atrocities and things like that. That it was me being able to help people who didn't know what happened or where they were, that you know they could cross over. And I thought, right, so when we had something that happened last month, I'm trying to think what it was, and we had this, always the shooting from the high rise into the group in America, and I thought it was, where was it, in Las Vegas, wasn't it? And I thought, right, I'll use it. I'll use this ability, and I sent the healing to the vortex to go to America to help these people pass to the higher side of light in a serene and, you know, in a strength manner. And it was wonderful. I felt great. The one thing I didn't do was I didn't close the vortex. And I got blasted back with some negative energy. And it took me 3 days to recover. So I learned my lesson now. And if I'm going to use it, I will shut that vortex before I'm finished. Because it's not a pleasant sight, you know. It's not a pleasant sight when you've got a fat old Geordie flopping about on the floor like a dying fish.
Oh dear. One of the things Stanley was saying is how is it going to change? In my lifetime, and I'm sure Eric's he's seen a lot more than I have, but in my lifetime it's changed considerably. The whole, how do you become a medium healer, doing all this stuff. When my parents and my grandparents' age were doing it, it was sitting totally in the dark for hours and 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 hours, because they didn't have telly, they didn't have Sky, they didn't have interweb. So that's what they did, and they sat and they built some awesome circles of awesome energies. A lot of physical mediumship, moving trumpets and tables and things, materialising and levitating and all that sort of stuff. Then my generation has come in and we've gone a bit less of the sitting because we've had interweb and Coronation Street and all these other soap operas, and so we've had these distractions. And now young people, they've got instant Google, which has got more all the knowledge of the world just at their fingertips, and they've got phones that 20 years ago could have launched a space shuttle to the moon and back and still had plenty of space and memory. But it's more instant for younger people now, or people coming into it now. So it's changing that way, and like Eric said, downloads from Akashic Records or angels or wherever they're coming from. I think it's going to be less sitting around doing the meditating for hours and hours and hours, and more of just it happening. Children being born, that their abilities are all just opening up now. You yourself, if you don't have the time to sit and meditate like we told you earlier, maybe your way of doing it is just sitting, saying, Scott, I've got a message for you, I've got such and such, doing such and such, and you giving that message. It's using the muscles. So if you're using your psychic muscle to give a one word or one sentence message, then fine, you're doing the work. But it's a case of I'm sure it's changing now because it has to be instant for our society at the moment.
Well, I think my gift is listening, like Michelle. People, I sometimes wonder why people come to me with things, and it's just because I can listen. I can sit on that fence and give you the both sides. I'm not biased, even if it's even if it's my children. When they come to me with something, I give them both sides of the fence. Well, if you do it this way, this'll, or you can do it this way. I don't tell them what the outcome it'll be because they'll figure that one out themselves. So if somebody comes to me, and they say, look, I'm connecting this way to spirit, and it's giving me headaches, and because I have enough people that I've spoken to, and I'm learning enough by listening. You may not consider yourself a teacher, Eric. Am I even talking? Yes, I am. You may not consider yourself a teacher, but you are, because when you share your knowledge with me, and when Scott, you share your knowledge with me, everybody else does, it's teaching me something. So maybe you're not the teacher, but I'm always a student. Okay? So I'll remember when somebody says, okay, I'm getting a headache. It's like, okay, first things first, A1 priority is learn how to ground to protect yourself. I was speaking to somebody who didn't know about grounding and protecting, and I used your castle as an example. So this is the way I work, is by helping people along their path, but not, giving spirit message. But then again, like you said, it's empath and empathic. And it's just the way. And I know eventually things will change. And a lot of people say, "Oh my God, don't wish that," because then you have voices in your head all the time. I don't have voices in my. It's called Eric and Scott. No, I'm kidding. But and see things, and like my daughter, she has that ability. Her power, her strength of her ability is different than mine, as is my sisters and my nieces and our family. It's all the women who have the abilities. The boys are either don't have it or too stubborn to admit it. More often than not, too stubborn to admit it. Oh, hold on a second. My 6-year-old has been very worried and upset this evening. He wanted me to go invite all the homeless people to come live with us, so that they would not be out in the storm tomorrow.
Yeah,
Smush, smush.
that's the thing. Did you want a little rant, Darlene, about Scott was going on about how people perceive the sitting for spirit, as it's called, and I use something when I'm doing services, doing my philosophy, and it's my perceptions of growing up with spirit. And the thing is that back when I was growing up, and I was 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old sort of thing, back in shall we say the middle 60s. In the middle 60s, mediums were revered. Mediums were feted wherever they went, whether it be a church or a home circle or whatever. A good medium was somebody that people whispered about. Their name wasn't mentioned, it wasn't shouted from the rooftops. They were revered, they were whispered. Now, when my gran used to go to a church, I thought when you went to a church, nobody talked out loud. Everybody whispered. And I thought that everybody got free tea and cakes in the best bone china cup. Because that's the way mediums were dealt with back in the 50s and 60s. In the 70s, bless her, along came Doris Stokes in the late 70s. But before Doris Stokes came along, we had Gordon Higginston, who was instantly lost, but was one of the funniest mediums I've ever listened to. He's on YouTube. He's absolutely brilliant. Then came our Doris, and bless you, I met Doris because my gran used to go up and down the country, and we used to go to Auntie Doris's for tea. And she was a wonderful, wonderful lady. And then she was going through all that. And then came the 90s. And then came the Derek Browns and the frauds. And the all mediums are frauds, all mediums don't do it. It's all a trick. And believe it or not, they're doing nothing that Harry Houdini didn't do back in the 1940s. Which was to try and find these fake mediums and debunk them, which I think is a great idea, because everybody should do that. But the thing is, though, that the only difference was that Harry Houdini actually was an excellent medium himself and made contact with his wife after she passed. But in the 90s, we had all the, oh my God, you can't do this. This is fraud. Then in the late 90s, guess what? We had James Van Praagh, and we had John Edwards, and we had all these guys suddenly arrive on living TV. So then all of a sudden, mediums were popular again. And then all these people crawled out of the woodwork and said they were mediums and hung a shingle outside the house saying, spirit readings. And along came Hollywood, who jumped on it with Ghost, and then Ghost Whisperer, and then all the rest of the stuff, Charmed. All of this came around the same time, and suddenly mediums were popular. And then it got to the noughties, and in the noughties, everybody wanted to make money hand over fist, and they wanted to make it so fast that people just, everybody was a medium. Everybody could tell this. Oh, the number of, I'm a natural born medium. Great, get on with it. And then all of that came along. And then we had a wonderful integrated into spirit. It was called Most Haunted. And yeah, and we had people like Yvette Let's Scream. Yeah, just taking the mick out of spirit for entertainment purposes. And let's taunt spirit for 10 minutes to do something. When they do, you run screaming out of the house because basically you've heard something, You've just asked them to do it, for God's sake. And then everything suddenly changed again when it got to 2010 because they started looking towards the spiritual nexus of 2012. Now everybody suddenly got back onto the spiritual high horse saying, come 2012, the spirits are going to sort everything out. They're going to end all wars. Everything's going to be wonderful. We're all going to float around with wings and harps and sit on clouds. Mine would have to be a bloody big cloud, but never mind. It's mine would probably be a thunderstorm the size mine got to be. But the thing is, though, that it didn't happen. So then what happened? Everybody went, oh, it's a bunch of baloney again. So it went down. We're going again in this 10-year cycle where we're going to fight our way back up again. But it's on the rise now because there was some facts published about 5 years in the United Kingdom, and that is that spiritualism is actually the fastest growing religion in the United Kingdom. It's even beating Muslim. It's the fastest growing religion in the United Kingdom. And it's the most attended church religion. There is more people in the spiritualist religion attend a church on a regular basis than any other religion, and that includes Catholicism and all the rest of it, and Muslim. And I thought, good God, whoa. This is it. So that's my perception of what it was like growing up. It's all like.
Okay, just a quick note in the chat room. Yes, Eric has a cat. His name is Drake.
Thank goodness for that. I'm glad Michelle wrote that she'd heard a cat because I thought I was hearing direct voice then.
She likes to be on camera.
I'm really pleased I've got my headphones on, because if you'd done that when I hadn't got my headphones on, she would have been tearing the screen apart. Yeah. Yes, Fellini, even Muslim, the spiritualist is actually out doing that because Muslims are commanded by faith to have to attend a church. But the thing is, though, that quite a lot of them don't because they're given license if they're away on a trip or they're working in business and things like that. They don't have to go. But spiritualists just seem to turn up, It's very rarely you go to a church and you can have a church in the UK and it can be snowing, it can be rain, it can be hail, it can be sleet, it can be not nice outside. And then then you go in and the church is full. And I keep thinking, what's the matter? Is the husbands kick you out in the rain? Because it's generally women. The men have got more sense. They're inside watching the football. But the women turn up at church and not all of them go to arrange the flowers and, do things like that. It's just,
Okay, this quick one. Michelle in the chat room said, do you have to meet someone in person to be able to connect with someone belonging to them?
Oh, I really hope not. Otherwise, this show has been a waste of time. No. You don't. As long as you have the ability to connect with them, i.e. the internet, a telephone, Skype, you know, two tin cans with a long bit of string. You know, it's...
Yes, my...
Yeah, exactly, Brian. It's not a religion, it's a way of life. But the thing is, though, that, yeah, it's... You don't have to connect with them. I mean, the premise of these shows, like Darlene's show tonight, like other shows on other stations, is that you actually can do readings over the telephone, over the internet, and things like that. I mean, I did so many readings in the last couple of years on shows that were based in the USA that a list of things came out, and I was voted the 23rd best medium in the USA. Which kind of struck me as a bit silly because I live in the UK, you know what I mean? But never mind, that's the way it came out. No, you really don't have to be able to see them. Otherwise, you know, it wouldn't be on. Oh, Scott's back. Hi, Scott.
He's back.
Sorry.
So yeah, that's. I hope that answers your question.
And yes, Felina, we have churches like that around here. Somebody, I can't remember who, told me that there are spiritualists here in Canada. Don't know where, you know. And the difference between Felina and I is my French is not fluent enough that I would understand. I would enjoy the service in French. I could understand it, but it would have to be for me. It would be in English for me to, you know, to feel comfortable in it, you know. And in the States, it's the same thing. It's not as big, but I think it is growing, you know. I mean, when I first started studying Reiki, I hadn't heard of it here, you know, and I hadn't heard of it here. But my masters offered it to me, and I accepted, and quite happily. And when my husband became ill at one point, he was in the hospital, and I said I was going to do a Reiki treatment, and he was like, "What? Here in the hospital, where people can see?" And I said, "Yes, I don't give a damn." Yeah. I came out in 2012. I was on that spiritual. And the nurse came in, and she saw me, and she goes, "Oh, are you doing Reiki?" I went, "Yes." She goes, "Okay." And she backed out quietly from the room and turned off the light and let us, you know, have our moment. So everything is, you know, for me, that's a step in the direction. And I think that's where my forte is in healing. So, but yeah, I would love to, Felina, if you find a spiritualist church here in Quebec, even better. You figure out that I'll figure out how to get to you, and we'll go to it, and we'll have a great time. But
but I could just get a passport and come to the UK. You've got your choice of thousands.
I'm getting my passport this summer.
Yeah, drag Felina over with you.
And her spicy nuts.
Oh dear.
Okay. Michelle asks, are they sometimes, meaning spirits who are trying to connect, sometimes like annoying children trying to get your attention? She's smoking. Oh, if you were meant to smoke, you'd be a part chimney. Don't pick on Scott. He's my little Scott. Allowed to have a cigarette. I used to be one of them, so. But yes, is spirit before you can, that's a good one. Is it before you realize the abilities that you have, you know, and I would have more goes for Scott because, like I said, well, actually, both, either one of you. Did you find that spirit before you were ready to, because I know Eric, you shut down for a while. Did you find that spirit was like an irritating little child or a dog, you know, chewing on your ankles and always wanting your attention because they knew that you could, even though you didn't want it or you didn't think you could?
Yeah, they still are. They are. It's one of the things a lot of mediums have to learn is how to switch off. Helen had no problem switching off. Her problem was switching off. she's almost, or was almost continually bombarded by contacts and wanting to make contact and stuff. My problem was switching on, creating the contact and getting myself into a space where they could communicate with me and me give messages and whatever, because that's just how I am. But yeah, they can be. And sometimes, like today, I was writing just a simple response on Facebook to Eric, and I was nagged at to say something, and then I finally thought, oh, for God's sake, okay. And I wrote it down, and well, whatever. That happens quite a bit as well. But for me, it's generally when I'm speaking to like-minded people. It's not something that's going to happen if I'm out in the street and happen to meet somebody in town. It doesn't generally happen like that for me, unless somehow the conversation gets round to spiritual stuff, spooky stuff. I have to be open to it.
I honestly say, and it's true, that you have to learn to be able to close down, because the young lady on the checkout at Asda or Walmart, who has your granny in spirit, who thinks it's wonderful that she's pregnant, who doesn't actually know that she's pregnant yet, usually results in a punch in the mouth, and that hurts. So basically, you don't want to have that conversation. So you have to lay down the ground rules to spirit very early on. You have to say how they can attract your attention.
There's a program on the Long Island medium. She is quite an awesome medium, but I know it's all mainly staged for TV, and she goes in somewhere and everyone's hair and makeup is immaculate and all that sort of stuff, and she gives messages to complete strangers. To me, that the messages she gives are generally really quite good, and they do a lot of healing and stuff. But if somebody approached me in the street and started telling me stuff, I'd be looking for the sort of white van and, the jackets that are fastened at the back.
The hugging jackets, darling.
Yeah, the self-hug jackets. That's what they're building.
No, I have a friend who will hopefully come on our show. He knows Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, and she is nothing like the person that she portrays, or that is portrayed on the show, because their editing is for ratings. And they do go in ahead of time and say, look, Teresa Caputo would like, she's coming in, she'd like to do readings, yada, yada, yada. And, okay, Eric once said, hair and makeup people will be there right in lash, So, and I get it, and I've had people who have said that they've been to her shows, her open shows, i.e. like churches, and she's spot on. She's nothing like you see on TV. She is as loud, and that's her personality, but she's, she does get her nose, and that's one thing that they never show on TV, is they never show a no, because it's not good for the ratings. Maybe we should go back to, people getting their own, cable shows where you can get the no shows and yes shows, but,
yeah, but funnily enough, my friend went to see John Edwards last year, and he said that John Edwards does a seminar in the morning and then a show in the afternoon, and they said that the last thing in the seminar was a questions and answers. Pardon me, my thyroid's acting up. Was a question and answer session. Now, the first question that was asked to John Edwards was, is there anything you don't like about crossing over? And he said, yes, I don't like the fact that they don't show my nose. He said, because when people come like today to a seminar and to my demonstration this afternoon, they are going to expect me to be right 100% of the time. He says, and I'm just like any ordinary medium, but, he's got an entourage of 17 people for to keep busy, so he's got to be right. But it's just a case of it's one of them situations that you're not right all the time. And, but as regards that wonderful woman with the makeup team wandering behind her,
Teresa.
I think it's brilliant. And I mean, I can just imagine that happening here up in Newcastle. You know, to go walking down the street and walking down the street and it's like, can I give you a message? How quick do you want to just get yourself out? I just can't be bothered. You know, because the one thing that never happens on the show is nobody ever says, actually, no, I don't want one. You know,
because they.
You know, take your hair. I'll have the hair and makeup done, please, because I'm going out tonight. And when she comes back in, go, yeah, I don't want one. Talk. Just the way the Geordies would do it.
Plus, it's British personality as well. We're an awful lot more restrained than many American people seem to be. It's getting less so now. Just a little stiff upper lip and all that sort of thing, and one doesn't blow one's own trumpet and all that, whereas Americans seem to do so. Canadians are an awful lot like us Brits as well, but there's an awful lot of yee-hawing and whooping and all that sort of stuff that happens in your TV shows. Nice. Well, whooping, not whipping.
Whooping. Oh, sorry. I thought you had the crop out and you were, I thought, well, hang on a minute, this is the wrong show for that. There's other stations.
And like you said, in Britain, if we were to wander around giving off messages like that, it really would be a case of a slap around the head or
punching them out
walking away.
Yeah.
But I do know mediums, especially new mediums, they've got this lovely new toy, and they have done that. They've stopped strangers in the street and given them messages and stuff, and that's not for me, but I don't know. Even a broken pot can carry water.
Yeah. But on the other hand, a broken clock's right twice a day, so never mind. Sorry, I just thought was sprouting out like random.
Yes, I noticed it. Okay. Fellini in the chat room says yes. Teresa Caputo is a good medium. She gives lots of evidence, but it is a TV show. Ratings. And I don't know, how have you ever tried to go see her on stage? Since the price the promoter charges is really pricey and it's big business. Yeah, especially all the people who do the shows and they have people pay big money to go and see them, but I'm sending them messages to see if they want to be on my show. So you never know. Watch out, Teresa Caputo coming to us. Mama D show.
Let's get this right.
It's not.
Yeah, let's get this right. There is somebody coming to your show who everybody will be all over the internet
but it hasn't been confirmed yet.
It hasn't materialized yet. You've got a provisional yes, so there we go. We shall see what
yes.
You know? It's
one of the things as well, just now, we're talking about prices, the whole spiritual thing, inverted commas, spiritual thing is very pricey. One of the places, I've got some friends who own a retreat. I was asking about running healing courses for folk who want to know how to be a healer or to be guided and given some advice on how to be a healer, all that sort of stuff. They wanted £140 per day for the room. And then there was tea and coffee and all that other stuff on top, and then there was all these other things. So it's a whole huge expensive business, or it can be, just to do basic stuff that we used to do in our own living rooms and our own wee groups and homes, and getting silly.
Mm-hmm. The other thing,
I live near Glastonbury as well. It's horrendous. A piece of crystal, piece of dead amethyst, about that size, 140, 150 quid, which is worth $200, $300. You can get it in other places for 20 quid and 25 quid, because it's Glastonbury, because that's what everyone wants to be and to go to. It's just mad.
That was your response as the host of the show. I mean, come on.
That was weird. I just got muted.
to fill the dead area. Yeah, I mean.
I know I was going, but I got muted.
Who muted you?
I don't know. That's scary.
Oh,
Yes.
you're the first people to hear this. Tonight, Teddy excelled himself. He did. Teddy set off a fire alarm. It's not a fire alarm, a smoke alarm in a church tonight where I was for a bit of fun. But the smoke alarm he set off was 6 years old, had been disconnected, and was in a cupboard somewhere. And the smoke alarm went off, and then when everybody went looking for it, they couldn't find it. And
Nice.
yeah, and I thought, yeah, and Teddy he thought that was hilarious. He just thought that was absolutely funny. Yeah, no, Sharon,
Yeah,
that's
way to
not
go,
Team
Teddy.
Teddy. No, it's not Team Teddy tonight. It's me. Team Teddy can go in there in the background. But I mean, some of the stuff that Spirit do, is absolutely awesome. Some of the stuff really is. And you hear some messages that's coming through and you think, that can't be right, that can't be doing it. And then you hear the same kind of messages coming out of the mouths of these celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. I mean, there's a very good medium in this country who used to work on the Most Haunted show. I won't say his name because basically you can look this up and I'll get somebody into trouble. But this medium this medium was asked to do a big theatre down south, and they asked, what it would be, and this medium said that, well, I've got a flat rate, and the flat rate is £30,000 per night.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I have a problem charging what I do for what I do.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that when people have to pay for their venue, but have it a smaller venue. I don't know. I guess people get bigger. They have to charge better because they have to pay for their employees. They have to pay for their venue. They have to pay for the gas. They have to. And it has been said that when people sit there and go, I want to pay $150 for a reading or $50 for a reading, they'll go to the $150 because they think it's better. But it's not really always that way, because a $50 meeting can just be a person who's willing to give back, but paying for their basics. So,
yeah, it's not the case of the money, and yeah, people do sort of get them. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see people and you think, oh my God, that's so expensive. But it's not what they're charging, it's what their management team are charging.
Mm.
Because most of the top mediums now have a manager, producer, roadies, they have, nutritionists, they have psychologists, they have, you and every ist that's going, they've probably got one. But the thing is, though, that, except the one beginning with a P. Anyway, but the thing is, though, that it's more to do with they've then got 12, 15 people who are, how can I put it, who are reliant on them for the mortgages. They're reliant on them for their food. So the thing is that the management company then takes over and starts charging these ridiculous sums. And, but, yeah, I was just thinking that, did you give it CPR? I could just imagine her giving a kiss of life to the laptop. Yeah.
But there's also an aspect of expectation by the reader. No, by the sitter.
Yeah.
There was people that was a medium up by us that charged, I can't remember the exact prices, but £25 for a small crystal ball reading. Oh dear, there's that poor dog.
You
just needed what a name to give a poor boy. You've given him a bad time. The £25 for a small crystal ball, £50 for a large crystal ball, and £250 or £500 for a black crystal ball, and they would speak to the person they wanted to speak to.
Oh, that's good.
But then again, if like you're saying earlier, the £100 reading or the £5 reading, well, the £100 one's obviously better because it's charging more, so they must be better. Well, for that person to get that reading, maybe that's what they needed to do. It wouldn't be for us because we're not that gullible or silly, but maybe that's what they need to get their message.
Yeah, Michelle has a marble. Give it to you for free, Scott.
Have you lost them, like? Or are you
Yeah,
saying I've lost mine or something?
I've lost my marbles years ago.
Oh, she's not a very nice person. You can
but,
tell she's a friend of Darlene's.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's exactly what you can tell. No problem at all. Like peas in a pod. That's what it is.
All they need is a big cauldron, and they've got the pointy hats and everything.
Yeah, that's it. Hubble bubble, toilet trouble. You know?
Poor Michelle.
I'm waiting for Darlene to try and start speaking because I think she's muted herself.
Aye. She has. And she's speaking to that poor dog. Imagine giving it a name like that. How rude. Can't hear you, Darlene.
If I can remember what I said. Darlene, you want to do what you should do, you know, when the phone, that helpless line. You know, where you ring them up and go, I've got a problem. Yeah, pull the mic out and push it back in again. It'll usually come back on.
We need to find out how to do this so that she can't speak in the future. We just press a button or click something and she's muted. Great. You can see her gob moving, but just can't hear anything.
Yeah, she'll be off in a minute to reboot it because you know what she's like because she's going to go.
Poor wee lamb. She's getting all agitated.
I'm just sitting here because I'm saying nothing because we'll just go, Teddy's been in it again. Electricity.
That's a shame.
I was scared there. Sorry. I said electricity and my screensaver came on and it's a big clock. And I was just like, whoa, where did that come from? So I just looked up. Teach her sign language.
Yeah, I'll get a bit of A4 paper and write down your conversations, Darlene.
Yeah. It's a fishing rod, Darlene, look.
Poor soul.
Oh, you do realise, what's that, Fellini? Thing is, money is a consideration, but some have no knowledge of the worth or are in agreement. As if an agreement made between them is like sex. She said sex. I didn't mention it. Fellini brought it up first of all. So there we go. If it's consensual, it's fine. It's an agreement. I love it, Fellini. Nice one. That's it. Darlene's now panicking how she can overcome the fact that I've just said sex on her show, and that's twice. And then it's in the chat room, and I said, there she's gone.
She's gone.
We can do anything we want now because she's not here, and we've got no moderator.
Shame.
She's still hanging around in the room like a bad smell, though I can see up there. She'll still kick with. We'll see anything.
We do our best.
Yeah, we try hard, Michelle, that's for sure. We haven't got Michael here, then you would have heard it all. Yeah.
She's still here. She's spying on us.
No comment, exactly. Just out of curiosity. Yeah, Michael Rogers went to sleep. It's 3 hours since he's been on. Quick lads, rude jokes. No, Brian, we'll not say any rude jokes at all because you know for a fact.
We're not those sort of people.
No. Because I think you've been over there far too long. You've acquired all of the Aussie traits. That's what it is. But shall we talk about something spiritual? Nah, we'll just keep going.
I'll go on then.
Right. Okay, what do you think of transmediumship?
I've seen some of it.
I'm back, and Brian, you're going to get a smack.
Oh, I can hear something squeaking. Is that her?
Yeah, I think it's her squeaking on the ground there. There she is, not. Oh, hang on. Yay, there it is.
I don't know. In some, I definitely think it can happen. I definitely think know that I've seen mediums who do it. But again, it's something that I'd have to give up control for it to happen to me, and I'm not able at the moment to give up that sort of control. So it's not something that would suit me, I don't think, at the moment. Though I have been doing some work with physical mediumship, which is something that's interested us coming to our orbit at the moment. But I don't know.
The thing is that, I mean, I grew up with it because Nellie used to do transmediumship. And she also used to do levitation. She was known as the flying medium. And I've seen her do a whole service at a church, actually levitate it. And people go, oh no, it can't happen. And I've actually witnessed it on numerous occasions. Because back in the early 60s, that's showing my age now, isn't it? Back in the early 60s, this was common. Transmediumship. Because people used to sit for 15, 20 years for spirit to learn this craft. Dolly, would you mind not moving your mouse around, please? Right? Because it's like one of them bouncy balls on the karaoke.
Aww.
You know? But, no, the thing is that, I mean, I've seen her do that. I mean, I was there in Glasgow when she scared a couple of journalists. Because the journalists were there and she started the thing and one guy's going, it's electromagnets. Oh, it's something else. Oh, it's this, it's that. And they were having this big discussion amongst themselves. And Nellie just levitated off the platform, straight up 2 rows of chairs to where they were sitting. And one of them could see her coming and he was going, to his friend like this. And then his friend turned round and she was literally there in his face, and she went, boo. You've never seen 2 guys get out of a church so fast in your life. They were climbing over people for to get out of this church and out the door. And she just levitated back onto the platform and carried on where she left off with the service. And funnily enough, it was never mentioned in the press. Still. But it's trance when done properly. And I don't believe in the black box and the red light.
What?
The black box and the red light. There is a thing where people do transmediumship. They'll sit in like a black box or coffin type situation, all blacked out in everything behind them. And they have a red light on the stage in front of them shining onto their face. And this is supposed to help people see a different visualization in your face. But surely everybody as a kid has gotten a torch and done this on Halloween, and your face looks completely different. So why do they need a red light? But when it's done in an open platform, in front of many witnesses, and they all can see the facial changes, the voice changes, and everything else, then yeah, it is really something special.
We've been to see a physical medium locally several times now, and it's absolutely awesome. That's in a specially created black room. Absolute blackness. He sits in those mediums sit in the box, so that's what the box there's for. And there's been lights and sounds and movements and touch and things have been ported and vanishing and lifting. And he's been securely tied. I believe it. I've seen it. I've been here whilst it happened. So it is still happening. It can be great, but there's also recently been a couple of mediums exposed for when the lights go out, they nip out of the box and start throwing things around themselves and start touching people with themselves. So they've been reported as frauds and the usual.
Well, I actually, for the longest time, was really clever, a really good friend of a medium from Essex. And the lady's name's Mandy Masters. And she writes for the Fate and Fortune magazine and everything else. Now, Mandy is an absolutely stunning medium. She's absolutely brilliant. And the thing about Mandy is that she's got no arms. She was born thalidomide. And she hasn't even got the flippers. She's got nothing. She's got no arms. And she was the first person in a long time that I saw do transmediumship. And she did it after a show in a full lit room.
Yeah.
And she's a typical Essex girl, and it's all right, yeah, go, yeah, all right. And I'm like, oh, Christ. But never mind, she is a really good medium. And then at the end of the show, she says, now I'm going to do my spirit talk, which is my version of trance. If you don't want to watch it, please, thank you for coming. Get out. If not, this is just a bonus. Nobody ever moves. They all sit there. And then they'll say, oh, it takes hours to get ready for trance. Mandy goes to the back of the stage and plays half of Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Eva Cassidy. Then she comes back and she sits on a dining room chair or a desk chair in the middle of the stage, in full view of everything, and she kicks off. And the very first time I saw her, she went from, you all right, love, yeah, everything else, to two Irish navvies having an argument about who was going to speak. And the lady that actually she was talking to could tell the difference in the accent of her voice between her ex-husband and his brother. To everybody else, to us, it just sounded like Irish. But she, obviously it was her, she could tell. And then later on, the lady came up here, because I got her up to do a charity show, and the lady came up here, and she actually argued with somebody in trance. And this woman was in the room, and she was arguing back. And this woman that Mandy was channeling actually kicked off just like her mother. And she never gave her the lickings of a dog. And at the end of it, she was perfectly correct in what she said, because she told her that she had the pain in the chest, go to the doctors, and don't be worried, don't be going, everything else. And the woman said, no, I'm not going. I couldn't care less. She said, get yourself down there, and then basically proceeded to name every one of her children and her grandchildren and said, they will be disappointed if you die. And the daughter that was in the audience that night actually dragged her, kicking and screaming, to the doctors, who sent her to the hospital, and they told her if you'd waited another week, she would have been dead. Now, and that was done in trance, and the facial changes and everything else was just unreal. So yeah, I've seen it done. I've seen it without the box. I've seen it without the lights, and I've seen it in full view of everybody. And it just, when it's done right, it just blows you away.
That would be something.
I'm not quite sure what Felina said something. I'm not quite sure what she means.
Okay.
Felini says a lot of things, and I'm not sure what she means, so it's all right. Don't worry about it.
You know, it's Felini. So this means not many circles mean to keep it happening. Transmediumship?
Oh, okay.
There's nothing wrong with being French Canadian. I'm an English French Canadian.
And yes, Felini, you're lovely and all, and you know that I like you, so it's all right. You can see anything you want. I better tell her that.
Otherwise, she's gonna come over here and smack you.
Well, she come over here and smack me when you come over to see what happens in our churches.
Yes, and to go if it's Scott, and look at transmediumship. You said not seeing many mediums doing the transmediumship.
Oh, the transmediumship. No, it's something that's not. It takes so long to actually learn to do it properly, and people, to be honest, haven't got the patience now.
Yeah, they want it now. They won't wait, and they won't sit, and they won't work at it. They want it right now. And if it doesn't happen now, then it's not. They're going something else. It's not good. But it seems that's how a lot of things are going. But there isn't that many circles working on a Fellini, because it's such a specialised art that they tend to try and do little circles of their own. And then, I mean, it's like when people sit to become mediums. If they can't do it, they go off and do Reiki, you know what I mean? So I was just trying to get a Darlene there, but she wasn't going to bite.
Does anybody?
It's gone very quiet again. She hasn't gone quiet. She's still here.
Yeah,
I'm still here. Does anybody have any questions for the book? I think we are beyond proof now. Also, the effort or effect on the medium is harsh.
Yeah. There are so many fakes, and there's so many things you see on telly that are being explained away by magicians, and you can see it in special effects. That to see it in a wee room with somebody doing these things, people are less believing of what they're seeing.
Yes,
I think
it's just back to the everybody's frauds until 10 years time when everybody's brilliant again.
But I think also what Fellini means is that for those people who actually do the transmediumship, it must take a lot out of them physically.
Yeah.
So somebody has to be willing to, like you say, not only work on it and study it and learn how to do it, but they also have to be willing to give up that sort of control because it affects your health.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I worked with Teddy for such a long time. Before I would allow him to overshadow me and actually use his voice to come through me. And the thing is that, again, as Scott said, it's the control situation. I saw some of the situations that Nellie got into when she was doing trance, or the other thing, apart from levitation, she used to do, she did the ectoplasm as well, where it just rolled out of her mouth like a carpet, and it was just like, not this little wispy stuff you see on Hollywood, just real proper ectoplasm. Now, when she did that, for days afterwards, she was wiped out. And I just kept thinking, why do you do it? Why do you do it? Why do you put yourself through that? Why do you do it? And she just kept saying, because it's proof.
Michelle's asking the only reason some people speak to us is so they can receive messages from loved ones. Absolutely. And some of the healing or mediumship or spiritual type websites or forums, quite often people only really speak to because you give messages. I haven't found it in real life because it's not something in real life that I advertise or shout out loud about. So that I don't have experience about, but yeah, in chat rooms and radio shows, people are your bestest friends because they want a message.
Yeah, and the other thing that really bugs me is the fact that people used to come on, because I was on a chat site, and you used to get them coming in on a Monday evening and going, can you tell us how to communicate with my guides? And you'd sit for 10 minutes explaining to them how to go and find out the name of the guide and point them to a couple of guided meditations on YouTube. And then on Wednesday night, you'd flick to another chat room and they'd be in there giving messages. You know, and I think, you what? But the same people who come to your chat room and try to get messages off you were at this other person's chat room and they were laughing everything up that you said. So you just keep thinking, well, what do you expect? So, yes, people do speak to you just so that you receive messages from loved ones.
Exactly. I do that. Both of you. It's just messages.
And we had in one of our home circles, one of our friends at the time, he was sitting with us at night in our home circle, and he got to a certain stage where he was doing quite good psychometry and occasional bits of readings. He did one fledgling night at a spiritualist church, and that was it. He was happy at that plateau. Me and Helen were still sitting and working and meditating and doing our thing, but for him that was enough. When he got in some trouble in life, he would always come round and ask for a reading. Oh, can you do us a reading because something's happened? Can you do us a reading because this? So yeah, people are drawn to you just because you can tell them how to get out of the mess they've got themselves in.
There are also people now. I know I've done this. I sit with you guys. I talk sometimes on Skype, and you guys are my friends because you're my friends, not because you're mediums and you give messages and you're cute, look great in the kilt. I mean, sorry, I got myself carried away there. But you're my friends because you're my friends. But sometimes, I'm sure you'd look good in a kilt too, Eric. I'm sorry. But sometimes when we're having conversations, spirit just comes through. It does with you, and I know sometimes Teddy will be like, have to put his 2 cents in, and I sit there sometimes and I wonder, not with you guys because you guys know me better than that, but when I'm talking to somebody, like I know that I reach out to a lot of people for the shows, and some people go, well, didn't you get a reading from them? It's like, no. I'm not asking. I'm asking to come on my show. I'm not asking for a reading. So I guess that it it depends on the person, and it depends.
Plus, because I'm really just learning at the moment, if I'm asked, I then become very self-conscious. Whereas if I've got something and I'll say to you, for example, blah blah blah, then that's okay because that's just me practicing. But if you ask me for a specific message, then I don't tend to trust what I'm getting. There's that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, I'm just a gobshite. I'm just a gobshite. I just get up and do it. I mean, as Michael once said in the service, and I nearly fell off his seat when he said it. He said, most mediums on the platform are only up there because they like the sound of their own voice. And I thought, God, he's right. You know what I mean? He really is right. And the thing is that people will say to me, every weekend you did this. And I tell them quite bluntly, I never feel so alive as when I'm talking to the dead. Because they're the funniest, kindest, most annoying people in the world. But that's why I do the job. And to see the look on somebody's face. Have I got a dream catcher behind me? Yeah. There's one just at the door there. And it's a wolf, by the way, yeah. As they all are when you buy them off the market. But yes, it's so nice when you get something right. I really love it when you get something right. I kept saying when I was going around the churches, it's not a good night if I don't get at least 2 people crying and 1 people laughing their head off. So yeah, there you go. That's just my how you deal with it. It's lovely. It's the best feeling in the world when you can say to somebody, I've got your mum here and she'll want this and that and that and this. And then usually everybody's all right. And then you turn around and you go, listen, what she really wants to do is just give you a hug. Because at the end of the day, that's what people want. It's just the physical contact of this.
And we were talking earlier about getting an answer of no from people you give messages to. Sometimes, especially when you're first starting out and you're a bit self-conscious and nervous and you're just starting to do your thing, and somebody says no, it's as if they're slapping you or punching you in the stomach because it really closes things down. So if you have to give a message, if you have to answer a medium with the word no, then think of a better way of answering it or think about it. That usually makes them work harder. But to say no actually feels like a body blow sometimes, especially when you know that you're giving the right stuff off.
I mean, I know that when people say no to me, I usually get them, I go back and ask for more. And if they keep saying no, then I usually hands around the throat and the good squeeze makes them say yes. I mean, I know it's a bit of a funny way of sorting the situation out. But when they're going blue, you usually get through to the fact that, that you're actually right.
Or if you wait till the bubbles stop coming up when you're holding them down in the water.
Yeah. There's loads of times when I wish I wasn't Catholic and I had a font. Because I mean, I could just push them in and just make sure that they said yes. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Stop crowing. Yeah, it's just one of them things that when you stand up there and people say, do you not get ill? Do you not get bad? I can see me go to a church and God bless. I'm not telling this just to make something up. You go to a church and be full of cold. And you'll have a cup of tea, because they always offer you a cup of tea, because I drink coffee. But never mind, they always offer you a cup of tea, and then I'll set myself, quiet my mind, and then get ready to go up on the platform. And by the time I reach the platform, the cold's gone, the cough's gone, the bad back's gone, the bad legs have gone. I march around the platform like a right idiot for an hour and a half. And then I come back and usually fall down the stairs or something stupid like that because it all comes back racing on again. And then I've got this raving headache and this cold and this coughing and things that I had before I went up. And it's just the way they take it off you so you can work. Because the one thing that Spirit wants is they want you to work. So you don't have to do it somebody else's way. Just do it your way. Because that's all Spirit wants.
Whatever works for you, that's the right way.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Michelle in the chat room says, if they're not there for a read, if they're not interested, why are they there if they're not interested in getting a message? And like Felicia says, it's nice to observe. Yes, I would love to go to these things, and I'm sure there's many people who go to them just to watch other people get their messages. And in getting messages, everybody, again, you learn something. But a lot of people, I would think, that the people who are always the news are the ones who are afraid to say yes. They're afraid to admit that, Eric's actually talking to my, or Scott's actually saying, I think it's more of a fear. So, example, that's why Teddy smacked that boy in the face that time, because after that, he accepted what was being shared with him.
There's also a case of when I'm given a reading, when somebody's giving me a reading, if they give me names, I can't remember. I really, really can't remember. I can't apply it to my life. So there are people who, when they get a reading that's given a lot of names and relatives and things that happened in the past, I have no idea. When I get a reading, I need one that tells me what I need to know right now. Because if it comes from the past, I've got no idea.
I mean, when I'm doing readings, I read 2 weeks behind and 2 weeks to come. Because basically, any more than that, I believe that the medium, if you're unscrupulous, the medium can fudge it. Right? It's a case of like, I can see a holiday. We've just been on holiday. Oh yes, it's next year. And it's like, I can see you passing around Christmas. No. Or it might be in the new year. So the thing is that when I'm doing a reading, I read for now. And I use relevancy. It's like, as I said, if somebody turns up at one of my shows and they go, well, what do you mean? And I say, well, your granny your granny that's in spirit says you've got to watch them bus steps. And they just tripped on the bus step coming to see the show. Then that's relevancy. That's something that you shouldn't know. But the things like, and Scott says, the things like names. I'm sorry, names are the easiest thing in the world. Because if you work every night, as I did a while ago, you work every night as a medium, doing shows, doing house parties, doing services. You learn to look at somebody and you can think, well, they're 30, they're 40, they're 50. And there was a whole bank of names that were really, really popular, like for their parents. So it's, for example, if somebody grew up in the 60s, John, George, and Paul were pretty popular names. And then, and the thing is that it wasn't until you got to the 90s that you got the Scotts and the Charlenes and things like that came in. So if you look at somebody and you think, well, they were a mother in the 90s, let's have a punt at saying something like Scott or Charlene, and they go, oh, yeah, I know somebody for that. But you ask somebody who grew up in the 60s, and they go, no, I don't know anybody. So names are easy to fudge. If I was doing a rubbish reading, I would just chuck out a whole load of names, and then when they went home, they'd go, well, my Aunt Minnie came through, and then the better half would go, well, I've got an Aunt Minnie. Or my Auntie Anne came. Yeah, well, I've got an Anne. Yeah, but Roy came.
In the rest of Scotland, it's fishing industry, heavy engineering, and mining industry. So same as it is in Sunderland and Newcastle in the east of England. If you say I've got a miner, or I've got a fisherman, or I've got somebody who worked in heavy industry, shipbuilding, then every single person in the church says, "Oh, that's for me," and I've got the name Jim or Alec or John. Well, that narrows it down. And there's an old man wearing a cap with a suit jacket. That narrows it down even more to only 70% of the audience.
Yeah.
Easy.
I mean, the thing is that it's one of them situations that I was always taught that what has to be given right, it has to be given fluently, it has to be given in a logical order, and it has to mean something to the person that's it. That's the only way that you can do it. The idea of doing specific names or there's sometimes I'll do a reading and go, oh, well, the past with this or the past with that, because that is something that's personal to them. And if you say, oh, I've got your father here and he passed of a heart attack, and he passed of being knocked over by a bus, then no, But I actually heard a medium get out of that one. I liked it because he was very good. He said, here's your father, he passed of a heart attack. And the lady that was there said, no, my father passed because he got run down by a bus. And the medium said, yes, but he had a heart attack when he saw the bus coming.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have just said, as my mother always taught me, when you see the bus coming, you think, have I changed my underwear? But by the time you get to the hospital, it doesn't matter if you have or you haven't, because you still would be in the same state.
Gentlemen, it is now 8:41. We have run past our time. I need to thank you both immensely. I will torture Michael without a doubt for the longest time.
Yes.
So everybody be expected to have Michael come back on the show all by himself to do nothing but readings and be tortured with with Brian and Fellini and Scott and Eric and everybody torturing him.
Oh, definitely. I'll come on with them. I'll really come on with them, and I'll just make his life hell.
Okay. And then come on, have you both back.
Yeah. Before we disappear though, I'd just like to say to Brian, Fellini, Michelle, and Sharon, thank you very much for coming and listening to two old guys rambling.
Thank you.
And we didn't.
Bless of the old, please. I'm one of the youngest here. Thank you very much.
How old are you, Scott?
53 at Christmas.
53. God, you must have had a hell of a paper round.
I did. Bike with no saddle.
No, because I reckon it was two streets, the M1 and the M6. Right. So everybody, thank you for coming and listening to us.
Thanks, everyone.
Without you being out there, we would have just been sitting here twiddling my thumbs. And the next time that I come on, and probably Scott, we will do some readings, and we'll make it a little bit more interesting. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Naomi.
Night, everybody. Thank you very, very much for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.